Hi guys, this is Ashley here from LivetreeADEPT. I'm just going to have a conversation with him now. We're going to find out about his platform. I'm coming from a music licensing background, kind of style thing if you've seen my previous videos, but this is moving into the film world.
Absolutely. So yeah, it's just on the couch. Hello everyone. I'm Ashley, my friends call me Ash. So a little bit about background.
Let me tell you what I know of Livetree, and then you can explain where I've got things wrong, because I've only got limited knowledge of Ashley's platform, and I want to clarify where things are and what I've learnt is actually correct. So let's give that a go. I believe you're an end-to-end film solution. You've got kind of parts of the production line all in order, ducks in a row, and how you're starting is with seed, which is the funding side of things into a smart contract and tokenize that movie, so to speak, moving onwards to Blossom TV, which would be the Netflix style portal that pulls in that content that users have created and generated themselves. Is that about right?
Yeah, more or less. So let's maybe wind back a couple of steps and just describe how we got to that stage.
Brilliant.
So it started about 2 years ago. Livetree is a crowdfunding platform. Got a unique system, builds an ecosystem around people as they raise money. So we worked really hard over the last 2 years to build partners with the likes of Red Rock Entertainment, British Film Institute, who you probably know.
I don't, but they're interesting partners that you have.
Very established, I mean, in the UK and globally. And so having built a funding model, we now have the opportunity to really start thinking about how do we disrupt the entire value chain behind getting a film onto screen.
Yes, that's the problem.
Yeah, and it's really about the exciting part. And, I guess the reason why it's important to you is that it changes the dynamics so that you get to own what you watch. You get to be a real part of the action, and ultimately you get to earn from what you're seeing. So it's about moving the power from the centralized, let's say, studios, the establishment, and putting it into the control of the fan in a peer-to-peer, decentralized way, which is completely transparent. And it's just an exciting movement. It's, the timing is really poignant at the moment. Obviously, everything's blown up within Hollywood, but we've been working on this project for like the last year, right? And we've seen that there's a lot of inefficiencies throughout the process of getting something to screen.
Yeah, I can vouch for that in the music industry. You've got potentially a lot of different circles to move in, and it's quite hard to move things on because of those cliques not necessarily interacting efficiently, which requires middlemen that do interact with those cliques efficiently. It's not about just getting the model through or the production out. It's less about shipping, it's more about talking.
Absolutely, and it's often based on contacts or timing, or who
nearly serendipity.
Exactly. Or if you've got money to get the money, to get the finances, to get the contacts. And so we thought about it and we broke it down into 3 stages, as you mentioned: creation, funding, and the distribution side of things.
Very important side.
So it starts with the story. Like every film, every TV program, every documentary, since the dawn of man, we start with a story, right?
Yep.
And in order to get the story made, you need a great team.
Yeah.
So the problem is with emerging filmmakers or content makers is that their network potentially isn't that big, right?
Yeah, 100%. I've got a lot of people in my, so to speak, network that have boshed their asses off trying to work, and now they're ending up grading things or cutting things that they don't necessarily even want to do. They're just doing it because they're doing the job they love, but the work they hate. Yeah, and that's how I felt in the music industry as well.
Yeah. And there's just think about the end credits of the film. I mean, there are hundreds of companies or 20s of companies, set design, production. Yeah,
them things last about 5 minutes, 10 minutes.
Exactly.
There's a lot of people.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of people. And if you think about those lot of people with their friends, that creates a really powerful network. But in order to build a team, there's really 3 things that you need to be able to know about a project before you get involved. what you need to accomplish. So what's the milestone you need to hit, when you need to do it, and how much you're going to get paid, right?
Yep.
So those three aspects are quite difficult to explain in a transparent, open way to foster a network that will give you the power to go into the funding and the distribution side. So it's really about changing the dynamic of how we think about content and putting the fan in there as well, so that you can build a network around your project, which then takes you to the funding stage.
This is crowdsourced funding in a way. It's direct to fan marketing in a way, because the fans are funding the movie that they're eventually going to watch, or the program that they're going to watch.
I mean, it's really goes back to time-tested principles. So the best way to promote a project, or something that I do every day, is I talk to people and they recommend things to me. And that's the best way to build a network around you. Every time you recommend someone or you get someone involved, you're earning seed as well.
Oh, fantastic!
Right, so there's an incentive built into the model.
Okay, so seed. That's the incentive. That's the carrot to get people to do things. What does seed represent in your ecosystem?
So seed is a digital token that supports ADEPT.
Okay.
And as the project moves through the ecosystem, seed is used to increase the value of the project, and also to incentivize people to get involved with the project and to grow the community around it. So we'll jump into the seed incentive program maybe in a minute.
Okay, that sounds good. We'll go to the token model after we finish.
How it works, So on the funding side, so you can again think about this like an evolution. So we started off with Kickstarter, and Kickstarter was revolutionary because you could fund someone, and in exchange you would get a reward, which meant that you, as a person trying to start a project, your risk was relatively low. Right? It was just your time.
Low risk, it was energy and passion.
Exactly.
That drove you to do your thing, and the funding helped you achieve it.
Exactly. And the next evolution was, platforms like Indiegogo, who started introducing equity-based financing and so on.
Okay.
And ADEPT takes it one step further. So with ADEPT, you're actually buying the IP, so it means you get to own the content.
Okay, you're owning the intellectual property, just for people, IP, intellectual property.
Intellectual, exactly.
But you're owning a part of the intellectual property that made that film, so somehow this would be either you wrote part of it, or you bought a part of whoever was writing that, you funded them so that they give you a share in that intellectual property.
So typically it's a licensing type model. So you might, for instance, license for a particular jurisdiction and say, okay, so you can have UK distribution rights, or you could have rights over this particular episode. So it's about breaking it down according to what the project really needs in terms of film, TV, and content. And then, that evolution, then because we are end to end, and the distribution part is also gives value back, right? So people can pay for the content. You can actually say, okay, well, look, if you back me, you can get a share of the future profits of this particular project, which is something that's never been done before, right? So it's reward-based, intellectual property, and a share of future profits. So if you think about it in terms of just market size, globally, the crowdfunding market for film, TV, and content is about $1 billion. And we expect that to grow, and we expect that to go into the 500 billion that is currently.
This is the whole film industry, or just the UK's film industry?
This is
global. Globally, it's $1 billion.
Globally,
That is actually surprisingly small for film, given how much money goes into
just for crowdfunding.
How big the hype is.
So this is just crowdfunding, right? Yeah, and we expect
that makes more sense.
Just for crowdfunding. So
there's $1 billion in crowdfunding films. Though.
Exactly.
That's amazing.
Exactly.
There's me going, that's tiny.
No,
But thinking Hollywood, which is massive, but it's crowdfunding. That's a relatively insignificant portion compared to Hollywood at the moment.
It's about 1/500.
But we're moving into a crowdsourced world, an open, more transparent, cryptographic, uniquely owned world, a sovereign type of world. So having $1 billion, it's the same thing as equity tokens versus use tokens at the minute. The equity token market is tiny versus the use and app token market, which is huge. What's going to happen when people are allowed to turn equity into tokens is going to make the token equity market much bigger than the app use market.
Absolutely.
You're talking about this in the crowd-sourced film style thing versus Hollywood.
And there is no one else doing this. This is a completely new product. So we expect to take a large portion of that market because there is no other end-to-end platform, right? And moving on to the distribution side, which is where you started alluding to Blossom, right? At the moment, if you're an independent, your options are pretty limited. So you can go and put it on YouTube, for instance, or Vimeo. Or try and rub shoulders with the right people. But there's no structured approach to getting it into cinema.
Yeah, 100%.
Right.
So it's the same thing, people chasing after record deals in the music industry. It ain't coming, lads. That's why we have direct-to-fan marketing and things like that now. We decided to bypass and disintermediate them before we had the right technology to do so. So we're trying to do this with film, I guess.
Well, absolutely. So you start off perhaps building a small community in YouTube, Vimeo. You then go onto Blossom TV, and our initial model, which again has never been seen before, is a pre-pay-to-view model. So this ties into a gamification process.
So explain to me about the pre-pay-to-view a little bit more.
Yeah.
It's literally you're funding the project, and then you'll be able to view it at what time?
So
how much are you funding versus how long will it take to wait? We're in a culture of instant gratification.
Yeah, absolutely. So it will depend on the project, obviously. But it's really about putting you in control of saying, okay, well, I want to see this. I want a community to build this.
It's like Kung Fury.
Exactly. You remember Choose Your Own Adventure? Those kind of...
I kind of get it. Asterix and Obelix.
Right. So it's think about it in those kind of terms. So once you've built up that community...
I like that, actually. That's a choose your own adventure in the film industry, ducking through all the different avenues you want to do to build your thing. That's brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, it's so exciting, right? It's never been done before, and it's a completely new market. So once you've built up that community, one of the challenges then, how do you get it into cinemas? How are you going to move from online distribution to the cinema world?
Because there's a centralised middleman or gatekeeper in the way of you at that point, and unless you're sleeping with Harvey something or other, then you might have, you might not be able to get it in the cinema.
Exactly. So by adding transparency into the contracting process and matching it with broadcasters and distributors in a transparent way, we've removed those costly contracts, which sometimes takes 6 months to a year to negotiate. And by doing that, you're actually opening up the door to more content being released into the market.
So is this a smart contract licensing style thing for those guys?
Exactly.
This movie, Kung Fury, has been doing absolutely fantastic. We want it in our cinemas now, even if it was crowdsourced and we don't own the rights, we can make a buck off that. Let's license it from wherever they're hosting it.
Exactly. So the licensing part falls into Blossom DRM. And that's the digital rights management side of things.
Cool.
And by having that end-to-end platform, you're now starting to build a guided system so that content makers can start off and progress throughout the whole ecosystem and get it into cinemas, get it onto TV, which means that more content will be out there, more opportunity will be available for independents, and we have the ability to disrupt how the market works at the moment. But at the same time, we're introducing efficiencies so that broadcasters and the representatives,
those guys, by making it easy for them to claim the IP, or not claim the IP, to
negotiate the contracts for that,
rent the IP, so as to speak, or license it. I should know that word.
Exactly, which is part of DRM, obviously. That's the end-to-end platform, and it's really exciting because it's all about empowering you as the fan to really take control of what you own, what you watch, and be a part of it, right?
Very much so. Wicked. All right. So that's the platform. I love the idea of the platform.
Great.
Let's talk about your token model
Sure.
and how it's going to play. So it's seed you're talking about now.
Yeah, so seed works by...
Is this the currency of the whole platform, or is this per movie or per project?
So this is the token. This is the utility token that supports the platform itself.
Okay.
So the way seed acquires value is through that gamification process. Okay. So by sharing, by getting interactive, by increasing the funds getting into the project.
Okay.
A reward is...
So it is the reward. It's essentially a bounty style incentive for early investors.
Exactly. So this is something that we already operate within our current system.
Okay.
So as people raise money, they can allocate a portion of those funds to essentially, like you say, a bounty type system.
Okay, i.e. if you've got this promoted over here enough, you can claim this bounty.
Exactly.
Brilliant.
And that's paid in seed.
Okay.
The second part are the fees. So with all of the fees...
You're going to have to watch Blossom TV and pay in seed.
Exactly. All of those are fees and smart contract fees that replace these legal contracts.
Of course.
And more importantly...
That's useful, by the way. The legal contracts in the film and music industry are so complicated. It's ridiculous. Like, music is off the charts, contract owners and licenses. Like, you'll hear Hilltop Hoods or someone like that rapping about just how difficult it is to deal with that stuff as an independent. And you're, again, taking that side of things for the film industry and going, here you go, ITV, come and license it. We've got a smart contract to automate this process. It's like, PRS, the Performing Rights Society, is over here talking to the American pros. They have to fill out the paperwork twice.
Exactly. So those fees, and the other really exciting part, which I probably skimmed over, on the crowdfunding side, because we have multiple revenue streams, we can lower our fees for crowdfunding. So currently in the market, if you look at Indiegogo or Kickstarter or even LiveTree today, they range between 5 and 20%.
Okay, that's quite a lot of the project's capital.
So the fees we're setting out are 2.5%.
Bangers. That's less than the bank's charge.
Exactly, and it's because the transactions within the system are on the blockchain, so it reduces that.
It's automated.
And also we have multiple other revenue streams which support the platform itself.
These other revenue streams, just to reiterate what those are.
Yeah, so the other revenue streams are from the content itself. Mm-hmm. So as the project transacts through the system
and lands on Blossom, people start paying fees in that, and that generates other sides for the creators. It's a tokenomics model, so it's bootstrapping. I imagine the seed becomes more valuable as the whole ecosystem grows, because the ecosystem's not to seed. And at the moment, I'm very interested in decentralized exchange, and at the moment what we have is a lot of little microcosms of this, that and the other with their own uses. As soon as you hook that all up in a decentralized, automated way, that's going to bring added value to everything in the crypto space, which would be things like the seed token or our pillar tokens, or anything in the token space gets bootstrapped and increases in value because everything's communicating. So you're going to take seed, which is the currency for Blossom TV, and for funding, am I right?
Yes, so funders also will have a choice, because you might necessarily want to tie your particular project to another particular token, but seed is the primary, and supporting the platform itself are a series of incubators. So in order to build the platform and make it relevant to the market, we've teamed up with Screen Arts Institute and other leading organisations, and they will be developing content. So think about that sort of
that's great.
Netflix originals out in the real world, and all of those projects will be transacted in seed. Fantastic. And the contracts that go into making up those projects will be used to stress test the platform as we develop it.
So you've actually got these film institutes and whatnot as beta testers.
Correct. And
great, they're going to have some feedback given the difficulties they've probably had in the past.
Exactly.
You've got your work cut out for you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it fosters industry collaboration, which is going to be key to moving the $500 billion industry to Adept.
Yep.
Right? It's not going to happen overnight.
No,
so we need a transition and we need a migration process, and that's what the incubators provide. They also provide content that we can use to market the project, market Adept itself. Right?
Yeah.
So
if you've got good content coming out, like Kong Fury from whatever film institute, that's promo on the platform. That's a good thing.
Exactly. And the last one is, I think you alluded to, is Blossom TV. So all of we went over pre-pay to view, but we're also going to be adding in subscription, so that's like Netflix style.
Yep.
Advertising similar to YouTube. Pre-pay to view, pay to view, which is
bang on.
Yeah. So those will come in as we grow the model. We're going to initially start with a pre-pay to view model because that's completely
because you're about planting the seeds.
Exactly.
You're here to build the space rather than just capitalise on something that exists already.
Exactly.
You're building.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Great.
Thanks, Ashley, for a great interview. I just before we close this up, I should give you the opportunity to elaborate on anything that you wish to elaborate on. Any closing thoughts? Well,
firstly, thanks, Josh, for the time. It's really great to talk to you, and thanks to everyone who has signed up so far. The website is adept.livetree.com. Please join our Telegram channel. I'm on there mainly, so if you've got any questions, reach out to me, talk to me, get involved. Really, thank you so much for all the people that have supported us so far.
Bless I.